In a grand mansion where chandeliers glittered like captured stars and golden curtains flowed in every room, there lived a little girl named Emily whose laughter had once filled the halls with warmth, but after the arrival of her new stepmother, that joy seemed to have vanished like a candle smothered by wind, and her father, Alexander, a wealthy businessman whose life was consumed by endless meetings, contracts, and the chase for success, barely noticed the growing silence around his daughter. Emily, fragile and tender with fiery red hair that shimmered like autumn leaves, had been bound to crutches since an accident 2 years earlier, and though her innocence was radiant, it became the very target of cruelty from the woman who was supposed to love and nurture her, Victoria, Alexander's new wife, a striking beauty in her crimson dresses whose smile could charm any guest but whose heart hid thorns sharper than daggers, for she saw Emily not as a child but as an obstacle standing in the way of her full control over Alexander's wealth and affection, and with each passing day, her disdain grew until it spilled into words that cut like knives and actions that left Emily shrinking deeper into her shell. But fate, as if weaving threads of justice, placed a young woman named Clara into their world, hired as Emily's nanny, a woman of kindness, resilience, and a strength she herself did not know she possessed. For when she stepped through those golden doors on her first day, she had no idea she was about to fight a battle far greater than a job. She was about to become Emily's shield, her voice, and eventually the bridge that would open Alexander's blinded eyes to the truth hiding in plain sight. Clara had been through her own storms. She knew what it was like to feel unwanted, for she had grown up in an orphanage, tossed aside by parents who never looked back, and so when she saw Emily sitting quietly in her chair by the window, staring at the gardens with sadness no child should ever know, something within her stirred, a fire of protection that burned deep, and though Emily barely spoke, Clara crouched beside her, introduced herself with a gentle smile, and whispered, "You're not alone anymore, sweetheart," words that made Emily's lips tremble before the smallest smile broke free, a fragile hope flickering in her eyes. But Victoria noticed this bond forming and despised it, for the cruel woman had worked tirelessly to isolate Emily, to ensure the little girl had no allies, no one to run to when she raised her voice or withheld her meals as punishment for imagined slights. And now Clara's presence threatened her control, so she began weaving lies, subtle manipulations. Whispered into Alexander's ears when he returned late at night, claims that Clara was overstepping, that she was spoiling Emily, that perhaps she even sought something more from him, but Alexander, distracted and trusting, nodded absently, unaware of the venom curling in his wife's words, while Clara, unaware of these seeds being sown against her, simply focused on Emily, teaching her to paint, reading bedtime stories, and encouraging her to believe that despite her crutches, she was still strong, still capable of joy. The storm finally erupted one fateful afternoon when Victoria's cruelty went too far. Emily had accidentally spilled juice on Victoria's designer dress, a mistake so small, yet in Victoria's twisted heart it became a crime deserving of punishment, and she grabbed Emily's fragile arm with a force that made the child cry out, raising her hand to strike when suddenly Clara stepped in, seizing Victoria's wrist in midair with a voice firm as steel, "Don't you dare touch her." The room froze in that moment, Emily trembling on her crutches, Victoria's eyes blazing with fury, and Clara's heart pounding but unyielding, for she would not allow this innocent soul to suffer under such cruelty. "She is a child," Clara continued, her voice trembling with both fear and defiance, "and I will protect her, no matter what." Victoria, stunned by the audacity of a mere nanny, hissed threats, spitting venom that Clara would regret this, but Emily clung to Clara's arm, eyes wide with gratitude, and in that moment, a bond stronger than blood was sealed. But the drama had only begun, for Alexander, drawn by the raised voices, stepped into the room just as Clara stood between his daughter and his wife, his mind spinning as he saw Victoria red with anger, Clara defiant, and Emily clutching her crutches, tear-stained but unbroken. "What is going on here?" he demanded, his voice echoing across the room, but Victoria, cunning and quick, turned the narrative, twisting tears into her eyes as she cried, "She attacked me. This nanny dared to raise her hand against me in front of your daughter." Clara, shocked at the lie, tried to speak, but Alexander's mind was torn, his loyalty clouded by the woman he thought he knew, and yet something in his daughter's frightened eyes made him pause, a seed of doubt stirring within him. From that day, the mansion became a battlefield of truth and deception, Victoria weaving stories to poison Alexander's trust, Clara silently enduring while shielding Emily, and Emily herself slowly finding the courage to whisper to her father the truth of her stepmother's cruelty. But Alexander, blinded by denial, struggled to believe that the woman he married could be capable of such darkness. It wasn't until the night of the charity gala, when Alexander returned home early to fetch a forgotten document, that the veil finally tore. Through the crack of the library door he heard Victoria's voice, sharp and cruel, berating Emily for a trivial mistake, threatening to send her away to a boarding school abroad just to be rid of her, and Clara's voice rising in defense, trembling but fierce, "You will not hurt her anymore. If you try, I will tell him everything." Alexander, frozen in the shadows, felt his world tilt, the lies unraveling before his very ears, and when he burst into the room to see Victoria gripping Emily's crutch as if to yank it away, leaving the child helpless, his fury erupted like thunder. "Enough," he roared, startling both women, and for the first time, Victoria's mask cracked, her eyes widening with fear as Alexander strode forward, pulling Emily into his arms and glaring at the woman he once adored. "How dare you treat my daughter this way?" His voice trembled with betrayal, and Victoria, realizing her game was lost, tried to spin another lie, but this time Alexander silenced her with a raised hand. "I've heard enough," he said coldly, his decision final, and with a heart shattered by betrayal, he ordered her to leave the mansion that very night. In the aftermath, the mansion slowly breathed life again. Emily's laughter returned, cautious at first, then free, as Clara remained by her side, nurturing her spirit and guiding her gently toward healing, while Alexander, humbled by guilt, spent more time with his daughter, realizing how blind he had been to her suffering. Yet amidst the rebuilding of their lives, a quiet bond began to grow between Clara and Alexander, one built not on wealth or appearances but on shared devotion to the child who had brought them together, and though neither spoke of it yet, there was a warmth in their glances, a silent understanding that perhaps fate had not only given Emily a protector but given Alexander a second chance at love, one rooted in truth and kindness. And as the golden sunsets painted the mansion each evening, Emily would smile, holding Clara's hand in one and her father's in the other, whispering, "We're safe now," words that echoed through their hearts like a promise of brighter days. So, dear viewers, if this story touched your heart, if it made you feel the power of courage, love, and truth, then don't forget to subscribe to our channel, because more stories like this, full of lessons, emotions, and inspiration, are waiting just for you, and together we'll keep uncovering tales that remind us of the strength we hold when we stand up for what's right.